Can you convert your required minimum distribution from an IRA directly into a Roth? And if you do, when you add money to a Roth IRA, do you have to wait 5 years? Is there a 5-year rule before you can actually take that money without any penalty or taxes? Let me bring in my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, we're going to talk about this today. And before you get into what an RMD equals, I'm going to cut you off at the pass. Required minimum distribution.
Okay. All right.
Really massive donuts. You've gone down that path.
A few times, yes.
So we're going to talk about RMDs because I get the questions a lot. Can you convert an RMD into a Roth? And do you have to wait 5 years when you add to a Roth to actually withdraw? And this is particularly useful for people that are now newly retired. They're saying now's the time to convert. And they want to know these rules. And they get very confused. I have a feeling you're going to be confused too. But before we get into it, remember the inherited IRA rules? We did a show on it. If you inherit an IRA, you used to be able to stretch it over your lifetime. But then in 2020, those rules changed, and you no longer can stretch an inherited IRA, and you have to spend it within 10 years. But you also may have to take required minimum distributions from an inherited IRA. And what did the government do again in 2024? They eliminated the penalty for missing an RMD for inherited IRA. Yet again, Tony, the IRS is saying, yeah, we're not going to give guidance on it. So if you missed it in 2020, 21, 2, 3, and now 2024, we won't penalize you. So in other words, you don't need to take an RMD from an inherited IRA in 2024 if you inherited it 2020 and beyond. So that's a little,
and they keep changing it.
Right. There are specifics, but if you miss it because there's confusion, they're giving you a pass yet again. All right. So Tony, here's the big question that I want to talk about today.
Okay.
Can you convert an RMD into a Roth? I'm going to answer that. Drum roll it, Tony. The answer is no. You cannot convert an required minimum. You can't take the minimum out of an IRA and put it right into a Roth.
Yeah, you can. Why couldn't you?
Because,
I mean, obviously, if you could convert an RMD, a required minimum distribution, into a Roth, you probably have to pay taxes on it.
You could convert, which means taking a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k and turn it into a Roth. You could do that, but you can't do it for the RMD.
Well, if you can do it, but an RMD is just a portion of a traditional IRA or 401k, and you just said you can, but you can't. I don't understand.
I'm saying what the IRS is saying, and I'll show you the money. Quote, you can't convert amounts that must be distributed from your traditional IRA for a particular year, including the calendar year in which you reach age 73, under the required distribution rules. This is from publication 590-A from the IRS. Those are their words, Tony, not mine. So this ends the debate right then and there. You cannot. Now, you can convert a traditional IRA into a Roth. We know that. But if you are required to take some money out, you can't just take it and throw it into a Roth, pay the taxes. Well, I'm paying the taxes. Why can't I make it a Roth? Because they don't want you putting that back into a Roth. Now, you can add to a Roth if you have earned income, right? And there's
that's
rules.
True. You have to have earned income then, right?
Or you convert. You don't need earned income to convert. But we're talking about someone retired now, no earned income, just converting. If they have an RMD, they can't take that and put it into a Roth. You can convert everything else, but the RMD has to stay out.
So if you're taking RMDs, if you're 73 or older, and you're taking RMDs each year, which the government requires you to do, or there's a big penalty, you can't convert that amount into a Roth. You have to take the RMD.
You have to pay the taxes, and you can't then invest it right back into a Roth because that is just the rule. That it's just a
Right.
carve out. You could take the whole thing other than the RMD and make it a Roth. No penalty or taxes due. You pay the taxes. No penalty. You're allowed to do that, but you got to carve out. You can't do the whole thing. You can't take an RMD. Now, if you're under 73 right now, you don't have an RMD, so you can convert the whole thing. There is no RMD. RMDs don't start until 73, soon to be 75 for those born after 1960. So yeah, this is a very specific language in the IRS code, and it confuses.
Yeah, it actually is fairly clear. I mean, what you're showing there, the IRS code is pretty clear on it for once. It's kind of black and white.
But it doesn't seem to make sense logically, right? Well, why can't you just convert it all? Why do they? But whatever. That's
so weird.
It's a qualified distribution. It has to be a qualified distribution. So that being said, let's end it. That's it. You don't need to talk about it anymore because that's just the rule. So we can talk about how ridiculous the rule is, or it doesn't make sense, and what if this and that. No, that's black and white. So let's move on to the next question. Unless you're going to fight me still. You want to fight? We could fight.
Well, there's ways strategically to do things so you can avoid that problem, right?
Well, a lot of people will want to do Roth conversions prior to the required minimum distribution age, so they don't have required minimum distributions because there are no RMDs on a Roth.
Okay.
So, but again, you're paying taxes. It's a confusing topic, but we've done shows on Roth conversions.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it without working with somebody like yourself, a financial professional who knows what they're doing. You don't want to monkey with it.
Right, and you don't want to get hit with a penalty.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take the RMD, then you get hit with a penalty, which they lowered. It used to be 50%. But again, why risk it? Just take the RMD and don't fight this. So for the people that ask, can you take an RMD from your account and put it right into a Roth? The answer is no. You cannot convert. Okay. Unless you're still working, but that's a separate, you're taking money out, paying taxes on it, and then you're adding new money because you have earned income. That's a different story. But the idea of just converting, no. Okay. Second question, Tony. Do you have to wait 5 years after adding to a Roth before you could take it out without an IRS penalty? So the idea is if you add to a Roth, your goal is, well, it's going to grow and it's going to be tax-free. And whenever I take it, it'll be tax-free, no penalty, so forth. And the IRS has a 5-year rule on this. You have to give it 5 years. So yes, you have to wait, but no, you don't. And you don't have to wait for everything. Here's the big thing. Here's
the earned income, right? You don't have to wait.
No, the 5-year rule means you're adding to a Roth.
Right.
You have to have earned income to add to a Roth. Or even convert. Let's say you convert to a Roth.
But I mean, the interest earned in the Roth, you can take that out at any time, right?
No, you have to wait a 5-year rule.
Even for that, not just the principal.
Okay. You could take what you put in out. See, people don't realize that. You could be 40 years old, put into a Roth, and say, "Oh, well, I'm going to take my whatever I put in. I'm going to put 5,000 in, and then a year later, you could take the 5,000 out. You just can't take the earnings out." Right?
Okay. I had it switched. Yeah,
you're right. And then, well, when can I take those earnings out? You have to wait 5 years, and you also have to be under 59 and a half or have some other rules, right? Which I'll get into. But
over 59 and a half.
Now you're right. You have to be over 59. Let's say you convert you wanted to convert your RMD. We just learned you can't, but you convert the rest. You convert 100,000 of your IRA and you're 70 years old or 65 years old. You convert half, you convert 100,000 of your IRA. Now you're 67 a year later. Can you take that money out of the Roth without any penalty? The government says there's a 5-year rule on that. But here's the thing, and I put it on there in caps, original Roth contribution. Let me explain. I'll use quotes again directly from the IRS. This is not me making this up. Qualified distributions. A qualified distribution is not taxed or penalized. A qualified distribution from a Roth would be, quote, it is made after the 5-year period beginning with the first tax year for which a contribution was made to a Roth IRA set up for your benefit.
So the original setup.
The original setup. So you're 40 years old and you hear about a Roth and you create it and you throw $1,000 into that Roth and you did this in 2005. Now we fast forward 20 years later and you never put another dime into that Roth. But now you want to convert 100,000. You convert 100,000 in the year 2025 and 2026, a year later, into the Roth. You want to take that out? You can. Well, it hasn't been there for 5 years. No, it technically hasn't been there for 5 years, but your Roth account originally contributed.
Yeah. It's not the contribution, it's really the account. The wording should be the account needs to have been open. Your Roth needs to have existed for 5 years.
No, you can't. Well, here's again, this is tricky. Doesn't have to be that account. It could be another Roth that you added to at a different company. As long as you had a Roth. It doesn't say same account. Right. Huh. So you can open a Roth. Like my son, I opened up a Roth IRA for him.
Sure.
At 16 years old.
Yep.
He earned income from working at a pizza place, washing dishes. So he has a Roth IRA with money in it. When he's 60, he's going to love me. He's going to thank me for that. Right now, he's grumbling about why my money isn't right. If he doesn't add to that Roth ever again, and then later on in life, at retirement, he starts converting, he can immediately take that conversion, including interest gained, out of that Roth because he's had it for more than 5 years. So that is something that trips people up. They feel like there's a 5-year, and the IRS says every time you do a conversion, a new 5-year period starts. But it doesn't change the original rule, which is when you first open up a Roth IRA. So my recommendation for people that are close to retirement or thinking about doing conversions, maybe when they retire before 70, so people 60 to 70, that's a good time to do conversions. Open up a Roth if you don't have one already. Throw some money in there just to get the clock ticking on the 5-year rule.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't hear that talked about a lot in all the financial shows I listen to or I'm a part of. This is a fact that's really important, but people aren't talking about it. I don't think it's commonly known.
No, it's not. It confuses people because they're expecting to see,
Sure.
And I'm going to bring up a chart, which is very helpful on this. They're expecting to see this 5-year period restart every time, and the government's like constantly harping on it. 5-year rule, and people get scared and they get confused. Yeah. And then when you talk to a CPA, they're going to say, oh yeah, there's a 5-year period. And then you talk to another one, they'll say, oh no, when did you open the original? Who's right? That's the question. I want to show you who's right by going directly to the IRS website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see this chart, which I feel is very clear. All right. Can you see this chart, Tony?
Yep.
All right. Is the distribution from your Roth IRA a qualified distribution? Okay. So again, this is a flow chart. You want it to be qualified because if it's not qualified, then you're going to pay a penalty, right? So you want it to be qualified. So it says start here. Has it been at least 5 years from the beginning of the year for which you first set up and contributed to a Roth IRA? Doesn't say that account, doesn't say for this amount, just has it been 5 years? No, it hasn't. Well, then, yeah, then it's not a qualified distribution and you're going to pay an extra tax, right? But right there, that answers the question. It says when you first set up and contributed to a Roth IRA, not this Roth IRA, a Roth IRA.
Wow.
So if it's yes, all right, we've gotten past the first part. All right, I contributed to a Roth IRA more than 5 years ago. Can I take money out without a penalty? Yes, if you're at least 59 and a half, because again, it's retirement funds. If you take from a Roth or traditional and before 59 and a half, that's considered early with distribution and you get penalized. But you can also get the first-time home buyers. You can also, if you're disabled, you can get out of it. It's qualified. Or if it's an inherited IRA. So inherited IRA, you're allowed to take before 59 and a half. Well, you have to Usually, if you're 40 years old and you inherit an IRA, you got 10 years. It would be silly if they penalized you for being under 59 and a half when they're making you take it out. So, again, no penalty if you've had it at least 5 years. So, put that to bed. Again, very confusing. People get misinformation. I went right to the source, IRS, for both. Can you convert can you convert an RMD to a Roth, Tony?
No.
Can you? Do you have to wait 5 years every time you put a new amount into a Roth IRA?
No.
As long as it's 5 years since your original. Trips a lot of people up. There it is. Boom. Conclusion. RMDs. A lot of people view them as a blessing. Oh, thank God I have money. Thank God I have an RMD. That means I got money. Other people say it's a pain. I don't need my RMD. I don't want to pay the government taxes. I want to defer it for my life. So it depends how you look at it. But regardless of how you look at it, if you do it the wrong way, you're going to get hit with a penalty. And that's the last thing you want. So just know the rules.
Yeah, you don't want the IRS on your back. That's for sure.
Don't want them on your back.
You got to know the rules. Work with a professional, I think. Obviously, you can try to know the rules, but you go through this each and every day and see all the different types of scenarios with all the different clients you work with, and you study and research it as well. So why would I not work with a trusted financial services professional when I'm doing this? That's,
again, just like we talked about in our last show, we said, watch that show if you haven't, on Social Security, how depending on who you're talking to, they'll tell you about Social Security. It could be right or wrong. You got to know who you're talking to. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, my tax person said I have to wait 5 years. And I'm like, no, you don't. You've opened the Roth 5 years ago. You opened the Roth 10 years ago. You don't have to wait 5 years. No, my tax guy says it, so I'm paying the taxes. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm going to tell you what the rules are. I'm going to show you the math, and I'm going to show you the chart from the IRS. Yeah. And then you can deal with your own tax advice. So, my sister told me that, again, all I do is follow what the IRS says. So, you should work with a financial professional, but it's much better to know what the rules are before going to the financial professional. And if they're telling you something different, push back on it. All right. You got to be your own best advocate, Tony.
Yep.
Thanks again for a good show.
Great.
And again, you were wrong, Tony. You were wrong.
I was.
Just pushing that out there. Educating one person at a time.
Can't convert.
Spread the word, everybody. If you're watching, spread this word. This is a big question I get all the time. Share the video and say, hey, watch this. This is as clear as day. And then the world will be a better place. See you next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.